of mystery. Happy Thursday, my favorite Thursday buddies. It's a very, very special night tonight. That's right. It's time for
the Gutfeld International Feminist Awards.
Yes, it's the very first Gutfeld International Feminist Awards in which we honor those we feel have done the most for women. But unlike the Oscars, we're going to keep it short, just like me. So tonight, we just have one winner. And do you know who that is? The first Gutfeld International Feminist Award goes to... Oh, this is so embarrassing. I had no idea. Such a surprise. I don't even know who to thank at this point, and I don't even have anything prepared to say, except for the monologue, which I wrote so I could give myself an award. I never win anything. Now, I never thought of myself as a feminist, probably because I could never grow a mustache.
A sexist would say.
See, that's terrible stuff, and you shouldn't laugh. But also, how could I be a feminist? I admire chivalry, I'm not angry, and I've yet to burn a bra. Well, not intentionally, anyway. Once when I was 17 and drunk, I passed out with a cigarette in my mouth while wearing one of my sisters'. Burned down the entire convent. But in this crazy time, it seems like it's time for someone to take the lead in defending women, since the feminist groups have gone AWOL. So ladies, follow me. If I don't ask for directions along the way, that's just how dudes roll. So allow me to mansplain. There's not so much a war on women, it's more like a persistent erosion. It's creeping into science, language, courtrooms, restrooms, sports, and the streets where you work. And you know it's a problem when leading female achievers can no longer tell you what a woman or what a man is.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence.
I was hoping that you could define what a woman is for us in this committee hearing.
I am a woman. That's how I identify.
Okay.
But I wonder, however, if in part the reason that you're asking a question is that you're trying to suggest that people who
I am
don't
simply asking the question, and I simply want an
can't
answer.
As we say around the gynecologist office, ain't that a kick in the nuts? Now, these are questions anyone could answer 2 or 3 years ago. Hell, these are questions a 2 or 3-year-old could answer, period. But science is now secondary to politics. It's no longer about biology. It's about inventing a language. The far left's version of pig Latin. And who controls the language controls the body. According to our most prominent legal minds, a man can be a woman. A man can, in fact, do anything a woman can do. Just a few years ago, if a guy said that alone, he'd be pelted with eggs. Now, apparently, he's capable of producing them. And if you disagree, you are fomenting hypothetical violence, as real violence pays a visit to biological women.
This homeless man ran up. He had something in his hand, and he just looked at me with some pretty hateful eyes. And as I turned to go tell my friend, I think something's wrong with him, and I think he's gonna hit the car. Before I knew it, a big metal bolt, pipe, hit me right here. It happened so fast.
For the past year, we saw case after case of women being attacked by deranged men, hitting them with pipes, pushing them downstairs, shoving them in front of subways. And if you're a woman in New York, you might get all 3 before lunchtime. Again, no feminist groups pipe up. I'd say they have no balls, but in all honesty, haven't checked. You never know. But I guess it's better to excuse deranged male felons than decide with law enforcement. And even if the perp is arrested, God help you. Thanks to absurd bail reform, abusers walk in and out before the blood on their hands is dry. And some revisit their previous female victims, which is ignored by progressive loons like LADA George Gascon, who plans to disband a group of victim advocates and prosecutors who notify the victims about their assailants' parole hearings. That means when your rapist is up for parole, you won't be the first, but probably the last person to know. Again, where are the feminists? They refuse to take the field. And speaking of, the White House just announced new Title IX rules, which would sweep gender identity into the law's protections and strengthen protections for those who face discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. So who is this meant to protect? Take a guess.
I find that funny because that's like what I'm getting beat up about the most is like you're beating little kids and little girls. I didn't intend to do that. This was the first competition that I've been to that I actually wanted to win. I'm not going to go there and be like, oh, I'll go easy on them because they're kids.
I try to focus on my swimming, what I need to do to get ready for my races, and just try to block out everything else.
Of course, when female athletes complain about losing their spot to someone wearing a jockstrap and who has the lung capacity of a blue whale, they're called transphobic. So enjoy your second, third, and fourth place trophies, girls. Never mind when Leah Thomas competed on Penn's men's team, she was the 505th best swimmer in the country. Now against women, she's in the top 10. So that's like comparing apples to oranges, or our ratings to CNN's. I can't resist. I'm sorry. I'm so shallow. It's funny how this only benefits male to female trans. Not a lot of females who became males are winning at sports, which may be another form of sexism. Again, where are the feminist groups? Are they okay with girl athletes getting crushed by athletes with a penis and the muscle density of a pit bull with a Planet Fitness membership? One athlete who just got a Medal of Honor says if it bothers you to lose to a trans woman, then you should skip sports. And this is spoken like an athlete who's used to losing to males. After all, her team got shellacked by 15-year-old high school boys. So where do you turn if you're a girl who identifies as a girl and wants to play against other girls? Well, don't expect Rapinoe to save you a seat on the bench. So it's kind of sad to watch strong women do nothing to stop this trend, while men, like me, do everything. You know, I could go on, but really that's something a woman would do, am I right?
A sexist would say.
It's not just his accent. He really is smarter than you. Fox News contributor and associate editor of The Spectator, Douglas Murray. And she's so smart, her IQ comes with a comma. Deputy opinion editor at Newsweek and author of the new book, Bad News, How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy, Batya Ungar-Sargon. She's like Clorox wipes. White, thin, and 99% alcohol. Fox News contributor, Kat Tift. And he told the big and tall store to get bigger and taller. My massive sidekick in the NWA World Television Champion, Tyrus. Batya, I go to you first because you are a female. You are a female by choice or by biology?
I don't know. God made me that way, so I'm kind of stuck with it either way.
But you know what? That doesn't matter anymore. We could change that. I have a room. We got a Home Depot around the corner. Put some stuff together. Do you feel that women are under attack? Have I put together a persuasive argument?
Yeah.
Or is it biology?
This is what I think happened. For a long time, and I'm very curious what you think about this, because I'm coming from the left. I think for a long time, the left was at the forefront of very important civil rights issues like gay rights, equality for women, equality for Black Americans, a lot of really important struggles. The left was on the right side of those, pushing them forward. And the thing that happened recently is they won, right? They won on all those fronts. There is no longer a partisan divide on any of those issues.
Right.
So that became a problem for the left because you can no longer go to your Park Slope dinner party and win by saying, I don't think cops should be beating up black people, or I think women should be treated equally in the workplace, because even Republicans now think that, right?
Right, yeah.
So they needed to push the goalpost, and what they did was they pushed it to a place that is just totally counterintuitive, where it's now Dr. King's vision is now considered racist. That's how you win at the Park Slope dinner party, right?
Right.
It's now like, it's not enough to say women deserve equal rights. You have to say that there's no difference between men and women. They had to move the goalpost to this place where it's actually even alienating lefties like me and like a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm. Well put. You know, Douglas, in England, there's been, often a lot of history of gender confusion.
How long were you there for?
Not long enough, I'm afraid. But do you feel that this is more about the fact that like they've run into this brick wall of science, and it's like science is keeping them from achieving this, so they have to kind of almost remake the linguistics to get around it?
They are trying to get around science, which is never a great thing to try to get around.
Yeah.
They're trying to get around all facts as well. That's also going to be a problem at some point. I'm not coming from the left, of course. But I can say with some confidence that one of the great pleasures of our time is seeing this snake eat its own tail.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw, but this week, apart from that weird, that Berkeley professor, Berkeley-splaining to Senator Hawley, about how she said non-binary people can be pregnant if they're women.
Yes.
Trans men can also become pregnant if they're women.
Right.
And of course, women can become cis women can become pregnant. But also this week we saw Rashida Tlaib, the brilliant Congresswoman, make a really important intervention. She said that the New York Times is busily killing trans people and should stop saying anything about trans, because the New York Times accidentally maybe ran one story a little while ago looking honestly at the trans issue. And so the Congresswoman is like, no, we've got to stop it. New York Times, you're killing people now.
Right.
So I sit back and I watch that and I think, if the New York Times has become a transphobic rag, this thing must be nearing a conclusion.
Right, yeah. Definitely eating the tail. It's also confusing, Kat, this being a feminist, because I consider you a feminist, right?
Yeah, I don't hate myself. Well, no, I don't hate myself because I'm a woman.
Yeah, there you go. You hate yourself for
I hate myself for other reasons.
I'm curious about pregnant men. Who impregnates them?
Wasn't me. Not getting me on that one. Sorry.
It's okay. No, I understand. Well, the penis havers.
Yes. Exactly. Good answer.
Right? See, I'm not canceled because you just say something really reasonable, like the penis haver impregnates the uterus haver, and that's just how we all talk.
What? You actually solved the problem.
Yeah, there you go.
No, that's exactly what you say.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I sure am.
Yeah. You don't get this. You know what? I almost feel like sharing my award with you, but...
Yeah, they'll never let me share these things on Fox and Friends.
Tyrus, last word to you. As an athlete, as a wrestler, have you ever considered wrestling with, children just to win? Like that? Like the skateboarder. Like you saw the male to female skateboarder who has all his stuff intact and still beating on skateboarders.
I've been pretty successful because most of the grown adults I get in the ring with look like children against me, so I don't really have to punch down. I think regardless of this individual's perception of themselves or who they identify, you're an adult, and you were competing against adolescent girls. At least no one interviewed them, so I'm assuming it was girls.
Yep, 13, 14-year-old girls.
And not only did you beat them soundly, you then bragged about it.
And took their money.
And then took their money. There's something wrong with that as you as an individual. Even if there was a tournament, let's say there was a tournament tomorrow for the Super World Wrestling Championship of the universe. And I stepped across the ring and there was a toddler on the other side. He's going to win that night because I'm not going to wrestle him.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a certain honor in that. Why would you want to be with children? But we live in a time where it's about me. You know, it has anything to do with groups or anything. It's me, and everyone should know me, and I'm special, and I'm different, and everything's done by feelings. So you can't argue feelings. She felt like she should win, so we should all understand.
And if you disagree with me, you're actually creating a climate of violence towards me. You could kill me.
Which is woke for you hurt my feelings.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right, we got to move on. That was a great. Thank you, everybody, for the award. Thank you for the. Thank you. I'd like to thank the Academy of Feminists.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.